Luka didn't just join the Lakers, he walked in and grabbed the keys. 6 months after the trade, a 26-year-old is steering a franchise that used to orbit LeBron. That kind of power shift leaves two outcomes: banners or blowback. The shock isn't that Luka wants to win, it's how fast the room moved when he said it. Short contract, short fuse, big targets. The pitch is simple: new era, no patience. Outside, fans demand moves today. Inside, agents whisper, rivals reload, and the West never waits. The only question now: can the front office move at Luka's speed without tripping on its own history? Because when a star sets the timer, you either build a machine around him or watch the clock eat you alive. The countdown started at a quiet dinner that turned into a mandate. From that moment, the Lakers stopped talking about windows and started building one. And if they land the next swing, everything about the Western Conference changes overnight. The trade looked reckless in headlines and perfect on paper. Los Angeles shipped out Anthony Davis, Max Christie, Jalen Hood-Schifino, a first and 2 seconds, and brought back Luka with depth pieces in Maxi Kleber and Markieff Morris. People asked how Dallas swallowed it. Leverage. The Lakers sold the Mavs on fear: lose Luka for nothing next summer. In superstar economics, perceived risk is currency. Sell it well enough and the other side pays you to take their problem. Except Luka was never a problem. He was the plan. LA read the landscape and bet he'd recommit the minute the roster made sense. Once the dust settled, the Lakers had the rarest thing in the league: a generational engine under team control and a path to flexibility. Dallas blinked, LA grinned, and the rest of the West realized it about 2 days too late. The message under the headline was simple: the risk wasn't on Los Angeles, it was on anyone betting Luka would ever prefer uncertainty over control. Once he had that, everything else became negotiable. A 2+1 max isn't comfort, it's a countdown. 2 guaranteed seasons, then a player option that screams urgency. It tells the front office, no long runway, prove it. Short deals are how modern superstars set the pace, keeping pressure high and options open. For the Lakers, that ends the "we'll reassess at the deadline" era. It means aggressive calendars, cap planning around specific windows, and a clear mandate: win fast enough that Luka never wants to touch free agency. The subtext is blunt: earn the extra year by making contention feel inevitable. That requires role players who don't melt in May, picks preserved for one violent swing, and just enough room to absorb a star when the moment cracks open. Every move now has a second question attached: does this help Luka say yes again? If the answer is soft, it's a no. That's how a countdown becomes a runway instead of a fuse. The timeline isn't theoretical anymore. It's printed on the contract, ticking in real time with every game, every rumor, every phone call. It started as a whisper, a private dinner with Pelinka and Redick where Luka laid it out. No cryptic posts, no staged drama. Just a plain sentence that changed the team's posture: he doesn't want to wait. From that table, the tone shifted from cautious to predatory. One conversation, and the Lakers began modeling blockbuster scenarios again. Not someday, now. That was the contrast with recent years. The franchise once resisted star-driven pressure after the Westbrook fiasco. This time, clarity won. Front offices love clarity because it turns debates into plans. From there, scenarios multiplied. Cap holds timed to free agency, pick ladders mapped to target tiers, quiet calls to teams with restless stars. The feeling snapped from careful to calculating. A new clock had started, and the only player who could justify it said it himself. It wasn't rebellion against the past so much as a correction. The Lakers had their engine. The rest of the car needed to be built at highway speed, and Luka had just floored the pedal. Control isn't a box score number, but it decides everything. The Lakers learned the hard way with Westbrook. After that, Pelinka stiff-armed LeBron's pushes, Kyrie, DeJounte, even tidy shooters like Buddy. Years of subtweets and public nudges went nowhere. Then Luka arrives, speaks once, and the plan jumps forward. It's not disrespect, it's timeline logic. Front offices bet on the arc they can grow with, not the sunrise they can't extend. For LeBron, humbling to the new reality isn't a role he's chased, and you can't engineer it from the top down. Legends don't downshift on command, and no one should expect them to. The math is cruel but honest. Windows pick players. Players don't pick windows. With Luka, the Lakers see 5, maybe 10 prime years to shape. With LeBron, they see a brilliant one-year spike. Choosing isn't personal, it's physics. Gravity belongs to the younger star. If he stays, he adjusts to a world where his voice is respected but not decisive. If he leaves, the franchise finally stops living in two timelines at once. If LeBron walks, the cleanest plot twist keeps his commute the same. Some glam teams can only offer minimums. The Warriors' mid-level doesn't move the needle. But the Clippers have a path to real money and a pairing with Kawhi without changing zip codes. That's not just leverage, it's theater. Leaving the Lakers without leaving Los Angeles would split the city by banners and rewrite the era overnight. For LeBron, it's leverage and legacy mingled. One more chapter on his terms. For the Lakers, it's a reset without a public tug-of-war. If he stays, fine. If not, the plan can breathe. Either way, Luka's timeline doesn't bend. That's the shift. LA finally has a future that isn't negotiated on Twitter. The franchise can build in one direction at a time, and that direction points straight at June. It also reframes every negotiation the minute free agency opens. The Clippers lurking across the hallway force honest offers, clean fits, and faster decisions. No more dithering while narratives simmer. The stakes are on the same street, and that pressure sharpens both sides of the city. Ammo matters. Los Angeles holds 3 tradable firsts, flexible mid-tier salaries, and real cap relief on the horizon. They added Marcus Smart, Jake LaRavia, and DeAndre Ayton. Useful, but scaffolding, not the skyline. The real edge is cap space as a weapon. It lets the Lakers tell smaller markets, trade us your unhappy star for assets now, or we sign him later and you get nothing. Harsh, but effective. It's how this franchise has operated in its boldest moments. The trick is sequencing. Use picks to buy fit, not fame. Target wings who defend up a position, guards who screen and shoot, bigs who pass and protect. Keep salaries stackable for the day a franchise player shakes loose, and keep development real, because cheap, competent depth is how contenders survive injuries and variance. Above all, preserve optionality. The right no in January can pay for the perfect yes in June. Around Luka, every role has to scale with his gravity. If a piece shrinks when he dominates, it's a bad piece. If it grows, cuts, screens, relocations, stops, then it belongs in the blueprint. There are many names, but only 2 truly bend a season alone. Giannis, if the extension dance stumbles, becomes a responsible exploration for Milwaukee before leverage evaporates. The Lakers with space and Luka become the nightmare bidder. Then there's Jokic. Outrageous? Maybe. But windows shift fast. One injury, one bad cap year, one frustrated superstar. The draw isn't billboards, it's basketball. Luka speaks his language, understands his rhythm, and shares a competitive code. The Balkan link isn't marketing fluff, it's practical synergy. Handoffs, short rolls, angles only savants see. Would Denver entertain it? Almost never. But great front offices prepare for unlikely paths because championships arrive through them. The goal isn't to predict the coup, it's to be positioned if a door opens half an inch. With Luka on a short clock, half an inch matters. Space, picks, and clean books turn whispers into meetings, meetings into frameworks, and frameworks into choices when a franchise hesitates. That's how moonshots become paperwork. Star-run teams live on a knife's edge. Get the co-star right and roles click, egos settle, and June feels close. Get it wrong and the roster turns into expensive noise. With Luka, the patience window is short by design. He said it that way. So the Lakers must hit fit over fame. Length that defends, shooting that scales, and a partner who thrives without the ball for long stretches. The locker room dynamic matters too. If LeBron lingers past the handoff, status politics can sour chemistry in a week. That's why the front office has to over-index on temperament as much as talent. The second star has to love defense on dead legs, accept gravity duties when Luka cooks, and kill runs with simple plays. Nail the blend and the playoffs slow down while the Lakers speed up. Miss it and the season becomes a very loud lesson. The paradox is brutal but fair. The bigger the name, the harder the compromise. That's why the right answer may feel quieter on day 1 and deafening by game 50 when the math of winning starts drowning out the noise. Trey and Luka will always be linked by draft night, but that's where the symmetry ends. The Lakers don't need another small guard who needs touches to hum. They need length, defense, and scalable offense. Trey's situation in Atlanta may get messy, extension tension usually does, but that doesn't make him right for LA. Pair him with Luka and you duplicate strengths while magnifying weaknesses at the point of attack. It's great for headlines and bad for playoff matchups. Add in the size tax on defense, and you ask Luka to cover fires with gasoline. Could Trey thrive somewhere else? Absolutely. But Los Angeles has to ignore the noise and follow the build rules they've set: wingspan, switchability, shooting that travels, and a second engine who doesn't need to drive every possession. Temptation sells views. Fit sells rings. The league will link their names forever. The Lakers shouldn't. That's not shade, it's discipline. The window is short and every mistake will echo. The Lakers didn't just bet on Luka's talent, they bet on his timeline. Short deal, sharp message, heavy leverage. 6 months in, the organization already pivots on his urgency. That's the point of no return. Either they thread the needle, flip picks and cap into a co-star who elevates without shrinking, and we talk about this summer as the start of another purple and gold era. Or they chase names, misfits, and Luka's clock becomes a countdown to chaos. There's no middle. The needle to thread is obvious. One star who raises the floor on defense and raises the ceiling without hijacking the ball. One bench that survives minutes without Luka. One plan that holds through injuries, slumps, and the media storm. Do that, and the clock turns from threat to promise. Miss, and the countdown becomes a siren. So I'll ask you, if you're running LA today, which co-star are you burning the picks for? And which move are you refusing no matter the hype?